Your life will get better once you know how to communicate well. Here's 7 tips on how to communicate well with your coworkers. Number 1, think twice before you ask your coworkers for help. When you ask your coworker for help, now they have to spend some time figuring out, they have to stop their work, they have to write back to you. It takes a lot of time. Instead, try to solve it yourself. Usually you find a good enough solution by yourself and you will improve your problem solving abilities. This is a win-win and will save the company and you a lot of time and trouble. Now, don't go all overboard. If you have problems, of course, just ask. It's okay. Number 2, ask with solutions. If you can't find the exact answer that you're looking for, then try just to find what you can do, and maybe you have A, B, and C, and you write to your coworker, hey, A, I can do like A, B, or C, they each have these problems, what should I do? This way, the coworker can already see what you have worked on, what didn't work, what worked, and they can just say, hey, just do A, and we don't really care about this thing that it's not actually solving, and it's fine. This way you will not burden your coworkers with just forwards and backwards, and it's a lot more smooth communications between you. Number 3, default to async. If you stop what you're doing, it's inefficient, because now you're doing context switching and you have to think about, hey, what should I do here? If you have 5 people that suddenly need to meet for a meeting, now you have 5 people that need to stop their work at a certain time. Potentially, maybe they're not working at this point, but there's potentially 5 people that has to stop their work, go out of their context, and then deal with it. Instead, try to default to async communication. Write your messages so they are concise and precise. This way, you can very clearly explain what you have a problem with, what you need to get approval for, etc. And when they come back to you, then it will be a lot easier for them just to write back whenever they have time. One fun fact, with Goleco, you can do screen recordings of your screen and you don't have even to ask with a comment or anything like that. You could just say, hey, I'm trying this here, but it's not working. What do you want me to do? Or you can reply, hey, you did this is good, but change this here. Number 4, clarity.
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
If not, you will get confused and you will probably have to ask some questions. So therefore, make sure that you're always clear and concise. A lot of people are clear, but they're not concise. So clear is like you explain things thoroughly, probably through, so that people understand them. But conciseness is something else. It's that you make sure that it's short enough that people actually can grasp it in one setting. If you write a novel, well, it might have all the details that they need, plus a lot more, but they won't be able to have it in their head. They will use too much time just trying to understand what you're saying. Make sure things are also concise. If you made it so far, subscribe for more. You probably like this video. Number 5, ownership. When you take ownership of a project or a task, your mindset completely changes because you want to do a good job. You might not like that particular task. There's some tasks that are just not nice to do, and maybe you have a lot of those, maybe you have a few of those. But if you take ownership, your mentality will completely switch, and you, like with ownership, you have to take responsibility. And when you do that, it just changes everything. And if you're just trying to make a good job, not necessarily a great job, but you're like, hey, I want to make a good job. I want to make sure everything is how it's supposed to be. People will really appreciate that. If you can do that with any task, people will appreciate that. If they don't appreciate that, you probably need to find a new job. And by the way, we are looking for people, so write to me if you have any questions. Number 6, evaluate and improve. You probably don't put your hand on a stove. Why? Because you know that it's probably not a good idea. You tried it before when you were a kid, and I still remember mine when I touched a stove. You remember that for life. Now, why don't you learn from work? This is very important. Every time you learn something, either good or bad, like this was good, this was bad, write it down, think about it, and evaluate, what can I do better? What did I do well? And then you just do more of the things that you do well and less of the things that you made bad. This is very good for just learning and keep improving. And self-reflection is one of those skills that not a lot of people really have, but it's one of the best things you can do. Especially if you're a CEO or a project manager, it's very hard for your coworkers to say to you, hey, by the way, what you're doing is not good. So you have to have a lot of self-reflection when you're in these roles, because when people's paycheck depend on making you not angry, then or sad or something like that, then people will most likely not explain to you that there is a problem. 7. You have to have a meeting. So what you're gonna do? Well, I like to make an agenda to make sure that it's very clear what is on the agenda. And also I like to keep it very short, like just 1 or 2 points. This is what we need to talk about. Make sure to try to just get as minimum amount of people, ideally just one-on-one, and talk about what is the most important thing. And when you schedule it, try to schedule it just for 10 minutes. Usually 10 minutes is more than enough to get everything done. And it just makes things a lot more smooth. You easily end up having a half-hour meeting, and then you spend a half hour times 2. Comment below and tell me, what do you do to improve communications? And subscribe for more.